Hey everyone, this is my hopefully final practice video for April 6th ELA guided video lesson. So, good morning everyone. My name is Miss Jersky. I'm going to be coming to you with your ELA lessons over the next several days. So, we're going to jump right into it. So, kind of want to explain how this is going to work over the next couple of days. Obviously, if you're watching this, you have successfully logged into your Seesaw account where you were able to see this video posted. So what you're going to do is every day, your teacher is going to post a couple of different things in Seesaw for you to access as your daily ELA and daily math lessons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this real quick. So you can see this is the first thing that's going to be posted in Seesaw for you to see every day. It's basically like a little lesson plan or a little schedule for you to follow to make sure you're completing all the things that we need you to do every day. So for this week, under reading, our skill is going to be main idea that we're mostly focusing on. So the first thing you're going to do, like you're doing right now, is you're going to pull up this guided lesson video, which is video of me explaining main idea and key details to you. We're going to follow along and do a read aloud book together. And then you're going to have an independent main idea practice to do that is also going to be on Seesaw. So this video was probably pushed out or sent to you as a Seesaw announcement on your account. So if you logged in, you should have seen it pop up as an announcement. And then once we get to the activity part of our lesson today, you'll go back to Seesaw and you're going to click that little light bulb over to the right that says assignments, and you're going to complete that activity, which I will show you and explain to you in just a few minutes. And then the same thing is going to be for math. You're going to watch a video of Miss Ferguson, which you might have already done, a video of Miss Ferguson modeling some coin counting for you today for math. And then you're going to have an independent activity problem set sheet, which you're very familiar with, also on counting money. Okay, so let's jump right into our ELA lesson today. Like I said, we were going to be practicing main idea. So let's jump right in. Now, I want you to think of main idea as like a puzzle. There is an Elsa puzzle that my daughter and I love to put together. It's about 40-something pieces, so it doesn't take us too long, but it's one of her favorite activities to do together. And so what we like to do with the puzzle pieces is we spread them all out, have them all facing up, and we can see these individual colors, these little individual pieces of her hair. We can see part of her dress, but we know that when we put all those pieces together that we're going to form this big picture of Elsa with her beautiful dress and her hands out ready to make some snow magic. So I want you to think of main idea almost as a puzzle. When we think of the main idea of a book, of a passage, of an article, we want to think of the main idea as what the whole main story is about. So in my class, sometimes we'll say main idea. It's what the whole story is about. So if you look at this puzzle I have in front of you, you see that you've got a picture of, you've got a little girl laying on her towel under her umbrella. I see another little girl with her shovel and pail building a sandcastle. And then the third girl by the water is enjoying lemonade on the beach. All three girls are having a great time on the beach. Now, if I told you that this puzzle was mostly about how to build sandcastles on the beach, you would tell me that's not right. I see that is one part of the puzzle, but the whole puzzle is not about that. We wouldn't say that the whole puzzle is about things you could pack to enjoy a picnic on the beach. Again, that's one little piece of the puzzle, and we're focusing on the whole thing. So what do you think a main idea for this whole puzzle could be? We see the little girl resting. We see someone building a sandcastle. We see someone drinking lemonade. If you want to, you could also pause this video to look at it for a second. And if you're working with someone like a brother, sister, mom, dad, grandparent, you could pause this video and think out loud to them and say, well, I see these things, so I think that might be what the main idea of the puzzle is about. What I think is that this whole puzzle is about ways to enjoy the beach, different things you can do to enjoy your day at the beach. Because again, we're focusing on the whole, not just a piece. Main idea is what the whole story is about. Okay, let's look at this one together. I see a picture of a dog. I see a picture of a cage. I see a picture of a bed, dog bed, and I see a picture of a food bowl, like a dish you would feed your pet with. If you'd like, you could pause this video for just a second and think out loud to yourself, based on these 4 things I see, I think the main idea of this puzzle would be, and you could talk about that for just a second. So based on the pictures that I see, we can see that the dog bowl, the dog bed, and the cage are different things that we might need if we have a dog, if we're trying to take care of our pet. So we would say that the main idea of this puzzle would be taking care of a dog, things you need to take care of a dog. And then the details that support or match that main idea would be the dog, the cage, the bed, and the dish bowl. All right, let's look at another one together. All right, here I see that I've got a picture of some eggs, a picture of an oven, a cupcake or a muffin tin pan, and then a mixer. Again, if you would like to pause for just a second, you could think out loud to whoever you're with about what you think this whole puzzle might be mostly about. Now, I wouldn't say that this whole puzzle is about how to bake things in the oven. That's just one piece of the puzzle. I wouldn't say this whole puzzle is about different ways to cook eggs or different muffin and cupcake flavors. Those are just parts of the puzzle, and we're focusing on the whole. So if we put these all together, the whole puzzle could be about baking muffins or cupcakes, because you have to have eggs, you've got to mix them together in the mixer, put them in the muffin tin, and then bake them in the oven. So that would be the main idea, the whole puzzle about baking muffins or cupcakes. Okay, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna read this book together about It's a Good Thing There Are Insects, all about bugs and insects, if you like gross things like that. So we're gonna read it together right now. If you would like to go back and read it again to yourself before you take the AR quiz, the Nearpod code right here, WBZUE, will allow you to flip through the book and read it again independently if you want to make sure you really have those details before you take the quiz. Okay, so I am going to press this button real quick so we can read together. All right, so again, this book is called It's a Good Thing There Are Insects. And while we're reading this book, I want you thinking in your head, okay, this is a piece of the story, but it's not what the whole text is mostly about. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about different clues that can help us to figure out what the main idea is. But for today, I want us to just think about details from the story and see if we can come up with the main idea of this book by the time we get to the end of it, okay? Scooch this over just a little bit. All right, so again, this is called It's a Good Thing There Are Insects. Now, Miss Jersey thinks of insects and bugs. She doesn't necessarily think they're a good thing. I'm not a really big fan of bugs, but I do know that some do serve a good purpose and they are helpful, even though they're a little bothersome to me. All right, sometimes we call them bugs, but their real name is insects. So bugs and insects, the same thing. All insects have 6 legs, like a grasshopper. Most insects, like flies, have wings. So I can already infer, based on the information I've gotten, based on the pictures that I see, that this is definitely a nonfiction text, giving me real, true facts and information about insects. So right now we're just kind of introducing some different bugs and insects. Some insects live in trees, like cicadas, and some live in water, like water beetles. Cicadas are really interesting if that's something you would want to research or look into more a little bit later. They burrow themselves way, way, way deep in the ground. And I'm pretty sure they only come out of the ground like every so many years for like a season. And they're really, really loud when they come out of the ground. It's really interesting. The cicada would be something you might enjoy reading more about. Now, some insects, including ants, make their home in the ground. They have their own little town where each ant does its own kind of work, like a big team, like a big family. It's a really big family. That's definitely something that we have at my house. There's big ant beds outside. A caterpillar forms a shell called a chrysalis around itself. In the chrysalis, the caterpillar changes into a butterfly. I've always thought that was really interesting. This home for bees is called a hive. Some insects are harmful to people. So far in this book, the author has really just introduced us to different types of bugs, different types of insects, and now he's about to give us a couple details about insects, the insects that are harmful to people. Ooh, this is my least favorite bug, mosquitoes. Mosquitoes can bite you, and wasps can sting you. Locusts can eat a farmer's crops, but insects are helpful to us in many ways. So he just gave us a couple little details about insects being not really helpful, kind of harmful. So think about it for a second. Why is it a problem that a locust here would eat a farmer's crops? Why is that bad? Bugs have to eat too, right? So we could think about how the only way farmers make money is if they're able to grow crops, if they're able to sell them to different stores to be able to make money. So a farmer makes a living by growing and selling these crops. And if a locust is eating these crops, he does not really have much of a living to make, does he? All right. So we can infer based on this section here how some are helpful in many ways, that the author is about to get into that. Because remember, our title is, it's a good thing there are insects. So he's probably about to give us some reasons that they're good. We get silk from the cocoon of a silkworm. That's something we benefit from. A lot of things are made from that silk. We get honey from bees. I definitely enjoy the benefits of that. I love honey. As bees fly from flower to flower, they carry pollen to help the flower grow. Some insects are pretty, like this monarch butterfly. Here in a couple of months will be monarch butterfly season, and I bet if you go outside at some point, you'll be able to see these. We get a lot of these around us, growing from little caterpillars and bloom and getting that chrysalis and turn into monarch butterflies. They're so pretty. This page is especially beneficial. If it weren't for bees and other flying insects carrying pollen from flower to flower, the pollination going from each flower to the next helps the flowers to grow. Not just flowers, but also trees and several other plants. And if we didn't have that pollination taking place, these plants, these trees, these flowers wouldn't be able to grow. And not only are flowers really pretty and we like to have them around, but they actually produce oxygen. And if you know much about oxygen, you know you and I can't live without it. So we really benefit from trees and plants and flowers pushing out that oxygen in order for us to be able to live a little bit more comfortably. And now this next page is a benefit of insects that I would have never thought of, but it's definitely important for some other animals. It says insects serve as food too. Many animals and birds and fish and reptiles live by eating insects. Well, you know, I've never thought about that. There are several things that I'm very grateful for that I'm able to eat. So I've never thought about how insects and bugs might be important to keep these other animals alive. But they leave this walking stick alone. They think it's a twig. Do you know what we call it when a bug kind of disguises itself or tries to look like something else to stay protected from their enemies? You know what that's called? I think it's called camouflage. in order to protect itself from its predators. It camouflages itself into something different. And some insects glow in the dark, like a firefly or a lightning bug. Here in a couple months also, it'll be lightning bug season. You can go out and see those fireflies glowing outside. Some insects make sounds like a cricket. So the next time you see a beetle or a ladybug, remember, it's a good thing there are insects. So what we're going to do next, oh, and this is really cool. If you get on that Nearpod, you can see all these different bugs, and maybe you could even go on like a bug scavenger hunt outside and see how many of these you can see in your backyard. And then, of course, last, we've got our index, which our index is a nonfiction text feature, which we're going to hit on later in a couple of days. A nonfiction text feature which has the page number of these detailed topics. So if I only wanted to read, let's say, about butterflies, I could go over here to page 11 and 21 and read just about butterflies. Or if I wanted to read about specifically monarch butterflies, I could open page 21 and 30 to look more into that. So that index gives me page numbers of detailed topics within the book. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna pull up this, I'm gonna go back to our PowerPoint, and we're gonna look at this main idea in details chart together. And we're gonna see if we can come up with the main idea and 3 supporting details for this book. Now, I noticed 3 different times in this story it mentioned bugs being a good thing. The cover, the title says it's a good thing there are insects. And then once we got to about the middle of the story, after it talked about insects being harmful, it said, but insects are helpful to us in many ways. And then one last time was on that very last page. It said, remember, it's a good thing there are insects. So based on hearing that 3 times, and it gave me several different reasons why insects are a good thing, I can infer that my main idea is insects are good to have and are very helpful. So I can infer that this whole story was about insects being helpful and good to have around. Now, I've got to find 3 supporting details to support or match that main idea. Remember, whenever we hear that word support, it kind of means something that says the same thing as our main idea or matches it in some way. So I'm going to go back into my book, and I'm going to go right after it says, but insects are helpful in many ways. And I'm going to go look through these different reasons that they gave us why insects were helpful. Well, first of all, I really like honey. And so I'm going to put as one of my supporting details that honeybees help produce yummy honey. So that's one reason that they're good to have around. They help produce food, right? All right, another detail that I'm gonna put is when I turn the page, remember we talked about pollination and bees helping with pollination. So another detail I'm gonna put are insects help to pollinate and keep alive flowers and plants. And we could get into how flowers and plants are really helpful to us, but that's just another reason, another detail that supports why insects are good to have around and they're helpful. Okay, and for my last detail, I'm gonna go back to this super yucky looking page, and I'm gonna just put something about how they help feed other animals too. So I'm gonna put how insects serve as food for other animals too, because it's the circle of life, the food chain. Insects just happen to be at the bottom, don't they? Okay, so we can say that our main idea for this text, what the whole story was about, based on the title, based on details and sentences we read throughout the book, that the whole story was about how insects are good to have and they're very helpful. And 3 details that support or match that main idea would be how honeybees help produce yummy honey, Insects help to pollinate and keep alive flowers and plants. And insects serve as food for other animals too. Those were 3 details, not that I pulled from my brain, but that I pulled from my text to support that main idea. Okay? All right, let's go to this next part here. So now it's your turn. We've read this book together. We've really hit on main idea pretty well, thinking about how it's what the whole story is about, not just one piece. So we wouldn't say that this whole story was about how mosquitoes bite us or how silkworms produce silk. That was just parts. We're focusing on the whole story, how insects are helpful and good to have around. So what you're going to do now is you're going to, when you finish watching this in just a second, you're going to go back to your Seesaw account and you're going to go to the activity section. Remember I said that's the little light bulb over to the right, and you should have this assignment sent to you. It should say today's date, Monday, April 6th, and you're just going to read this small paragraph on dolphins, and you've got 3 questions to answer. The first one is asking you what you think the main idea of the paragraph is, just by circling A, B, or C down there. The second box is asking you to underline at least 2 details that tell more about the main idea. Like how in our book, we said the main idea was insects are helpful and good to have around. And 2 of our details were how the honeybees produce honey or the insects help pollinate the flowers. You're looking for 2 details that you'll just underline in that paragraph that tell more or support that main idea. And the last question you're going to answer is you're going to circle A, B, or C for whichever is the best title for this paragraph. There's no title on this paragraph right now, so you've got to circle A, B, or C right down there to choose which title you think is the best. And once you've completed that, you'll just press that green check mark up at the top. It'll send it off to your teacher, and she'll be able to look at it with you. So I hope you guys are having a great day. If you have any questions about this or anything else, please reach out to your teacher. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys.